You're listening to The Builder's Mindset with Mike DiGiovanni, presented by Amazing Mindsets. Welcome back again to what will be our final episode of the year. This should be coming out on December the 30th, and it's almost New Year's Eve. It's almost 2025, and I figured I would do an episode on New Year's resolutions. Did you know that a very small percentage of the population actually does New Year's resolutions? I can't remember the exact data, and part of the reason I can't remember the exact data is because the last time I looked it up, there's different studies and you get all kinds of different data. But what's consistent in the data is that few people do them. I recently read that most New Year's resolutions are either around fitness or dieting. And something like, I think they call it like the second week of February. I think it's like February 17th or 19th is considered Quitter's Day, because by that time, something like 90% of the people have given up and stopped their New Year's resolutions. And what's interesting is if you are in the fitness world of things, and I'll probably do a video about this, and maybe we'll do something funny about this, but if you're generally in the fitness world and you work out at a gym, let's say 2, 3, 4 times a week, you know what happens in January, right? The gym is mobbed because of those people who make those New Year's resolutions surrounding fitness and diet. They all get a membership, they show up, 24-hour fitness, LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, they all love it because they lock you into a 1-year contract, usually. That's very hard to break. And you use the equipment for, at most, 2 months. And then they got their money, and then you're paying for the rest of the year. And so very few people, though, like relatively speaking, I think it's well less than half of the population actually makes New Year's resolutions. 90% of the people who make New Year's resolutions usually drop them or stop engaging with them by February. I think it's February 17th or February 19th. And so there's few who stick with it. And it's interesting because it is difficult. It's a very, very challenging thing to create a new habit. What I find interesting is that the people who make it into February, like why they give up after. I'd love to see a study on that, why they give up after that. And so it got me thinking about home building. And I've been talking a fair amount and posting lately about, in the past 2-3 months, about don't wait until January 1st to create your New Year's resolution. Plan into it. Get ready for it. Well, now as you're listening to this, you've only got about 2 days left, and maybe you're not listening to it until after the new year, so we might already be there, and if we are, so be it. So let's talk about New Year's resolutions and new initiatives as it relates to home building. The episode I did 2 weeks ago was 15 things to do to improve your margins now. And there's a questionnaire that I sent out. If you're completely and utterly not sure what you should do, but you know you can perform better, get that survey, go through that survey. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yes is the answer that to me, if you answer yes to a question in that survey, you feel good about where you're at in that area of your business. If you answer no, there's an opportunity for improvement. If you go through that survey, find the no's, list the no's in terms of, which ones do you feel are having the biggest detrimental impact on your business, list as a priority, and go to the biggest one and start there and make your New Year's resolution. So here's what I said, make your New Year's resolution. Generally, your overarching New Year's resolution should be that you are going to be willing to evaluate and assess your business and be honest about where it could use improvement. People, could be your culture, could be your operations, could be your scheduling, Could be your bidding process, could be your product development process, could be your sales process. But start here. Say, like, I'm going to commit. Jesse Itzler has this thing that he I forget what he calls it, but each year he says that he does a variety of different things to make each year as impactful as possible. One of the things that I like to do is he picks a new improving habit each quarter. So it's not overwhelming, right? One a quarter. So each year he's going to implement 4 new habits. You do that over the course of 10 years and just think about how much you can improve yourself. Think about that from the aspect of your business. What if you took that survey that I have out and it's available, and you went through and answered it honestly, and you picked the top 4 that had a no, and you said, I'm going to look at that deeper, and I'm going to move the needle in my business in those 4 areas. So overarching, I'd say, commit to having a New Year's resolution that by the end of the second week of January, you're going to have picked 4 things in your business that you're going to work on in order of priority. You'll start the first one in the first quarter, the second one in the second quarter, third, fourth, etc. Work down the line. Just 4 things. And just do one at a time. You still have to build houses. You still have to do all your day-to-day stuff. Your team still has their day job. What I see a lot of companies do is they create this list of 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 things that they want to get better at, and they're all legitimate, and they try to do them all at once. Now, in your company, you can get a little creative with this, and you can do multiple tasks, but individual people should not be a champion for more than one new initiative at a time until it's complete, then they can move on to the next one. So there are ways that you can magnify this and really get a shit ton done in your business if you make the resolution and stick to it. So start with the overarching. Do that survey. If you don't want to do the survey, that's fine, but get real with yourself. That survey to me is just an easy cheat sheet for the 20 years that I've spent in home building. I've worked for 5 different builders, 3 top 10 public builders, 2 larger private production builders. I've worked in 3 markets. I've worked for multiple business units for some of those companies, so I've seen how they operate from one market to the next. I've seen and been a part of companies going from 30 homes a year to 300, and from 300 to 1,000. I've seen companies go from mediocre and bottom to best in class in the organization. I've seen companies go from one of the worst customer satisfactions to the best. I've been parts of these teams and these organizations, and that survey that I put together is the foundation for how you can evaluate where you're firing on all cylinders or not. And so I challenge you, if you're not going to do that, that's fine, but take a good, hard, honest look at where your business is falling short, where it is lacking, and where it can get improvement from. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to tell you, oh, you should go start the next modular building company and make that a subset or a division of your company. That's not my MO. I believe in that, and there are companies that will do that. What I want to help private production home builders do is figure out, how do I move the needle? Because if you move the needle in a way where, let's just say you're in a given market, probably the average cost per square foot for a builder to build a house is somewhere in the neighborhood of, we'll call it $75 to $125 a square foot. And yes, I believe that the range is that much. And if you look at that range, 75 to 1, that's $50 window when you start at 75. But let's say you're in that range. And let's say your average square footage house is 2,500 square foot, as I talked about in a previous episode. That's the magical number, right? 2-story, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house, or a 4-story, 4 bedroom, 3 bath house, 2,500 square feet. It's about, that's kind of typical American home. I think the actual average is like 26 and change, but 2,500 is great because it's a nice round, it's a reasonably round number that's easy to do multiples in the head. I don't have my calculator with me, but let's say you can implement something off of that list of 15 items that puts your team in a position by, in a combination of allowing them to be part of a strategic initiative, establishing some best practices and processes that can make their lives better, more efficient, makes them more productive, actually makes them better performers, actually makes them happier. We build a smart system around them. We give them the tools and the training they need and the coaching they need to be effective at their jobs. And let's say you can lower your cost per foot by $1. So you can save $2,500 a house. And if you're building 100 houses a year, that's $250,000, right? 2,500 times 10 would be 25,000, 250,000. If you're building 500 houses a year, that's $1.125 million. I did the math good off the top of my head there. I think I did. That's nothing to sneeze at. And that's no beating up your trades for something. That's not, having to raise your prices or sell more homes. And, and I think everything that I have in that 15 question survey is centered around trying to optimize your business so that you set yourself up for the best chance of success. Now, I think $1 is completely and utterly doable. $1 square foot, totally doable. $100 a foot house, we're saying 75 to 125. It's 1%. 1%. If you're one aggressive, and I don't think anybody's building a house for $50 a foot anymore. Anybody. Last time I saw a 5 in front of the number that it cost to build a house, it was 2018, 2019-ish. But to keep numbers simple, let's say you're at $50 a house. That's like 0.5%. So if you're at 75%, right? What is that? Is it 3/4? Did I do the math right? We're talking 1% or less to add, 100 home a year builder, $250,000. What would you do with $250,000 of extra profit a year? What could you do with that? And it doesn't just stop there, because if you can get that, it goes on and on and on and on. And so I think you can do a lot more than that. If you're over that 100 a foot range, I think you can do a lot more than that if you look at some of the other aspects on that 15 questionnaire as it relates to product development, product design. And so the big thing is you got to have a commitment that you're going to start something new. You're going to implement some change. You've got to then look at the options you have in front of you, assess them, prioritize them, and then attack them one at a time. You can have a huge impact. And even if let's say you're a large builder, let's say you're part of a regional builder, you're still private, but you got 3 or 4 divisions in the Southwest or in Texas or somewhere, and you're like, but the home office, like I have very limited, what I can do. Like there's plenty of things in that questionnaire that you can operate your business unit better and reduce your costs. And if you're even if you're a national public builder, 3 of my 4 success stories are for divisions of national public builders, all centered around operations and optimizing the operations, tying in product development, tying in design, tying in purchasing to that. You can have an impact even with the corporate constraints and the corporate rules, corporate guidelines, the sacred cows, the national agreements, you can still do this. 100% you can. We focus on catering towards private builders. They're just easier to operate with. Not a lot of crazy contracts, insurance requirements, and red tape to get on with. But it can be done at a national builder as well too. And the same thing, let's just keep magnifying that. You could be a division, 5, 6, 7, 800 homes a year. If you can save $1, we talked about it. It's big bucks. $250,000 per every 100 homes. So 1,000 homes, $2.5 million can have a huge impact. But you got to be committed, and you can't be a January change agent. You can't be a fair weather fitness resolution person. You got to commit. All of these experiences that I've had, all these successes that I've had, at minimum, to start to see the benefit, 6 months. 9 months, you really start to feel it. If you stick with it, you get team buy-in, which that's part of it too, cultural people. 1 year, and now we really are off to the races. So it is totally doable. You just have to be willing to look behind the curtain, be honest. And here's the toughest part, I think, for a lot of people in the home building industry. Often being honest means that we're going to have to admit what we've been doing for the past year, 2, 3, 5, 10 hasn't worked or isn't working. And sometimes people have a tough time with that because they feel like it's admitting that they were wrong. It's admitting that they made mistakes. So if it makes you feel any better, you can always say, what we did then worked then. And then isn't working now, so we have to change. So think about your operation, what's going on, what you can do. Be honest with yourself. Make the list, prioritize the list, and then one by one, attack the list with a level of endurance that somebody who had to run 100 miles would go after it. And you will have times in that 100 miles where you will run. You will have times in that 100 miles when you will hike. You might even have times in that 100 miles where you want to sit down and not get up again. And you might fall. You might get a stomach ache. You might puke. But if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, something else I have a lot of experience with, you will get to the finish line. That I can promise you, if you keep showing up, keep focus on the goal, and don't let Quitter's Day in February derail all of the great work you've done up to that point and all of the great work you can do beyond that point, and then all of the profit and the performance and the side benefit of how happy your team will be, because it will be easier for them to execute that new strategy that is easier and making you more money. So, make a New Year's resolution to analyze your business and pick 4 things that you're going to work on quarter by quarter. At least do that one at a time. Okay. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next year. Have an amazing day and have an amazing New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to The Builder's Mindset with Mike DiGiovanni, presented by Amazing Mindsets. Remember, your mindset matters,